Welcome to Ric Flair's last match. Yes. Now, I was going to do my animation because I'm actually late putting up another video on my other channel. It's weeks late because I've been doing wrestling reviews a lot lately. But I had to do this one. There's no way I wasn't going to review Ric Flair's last match pay-per-view. Now, how do I feel about it? Let me put you in, paint you a picture. I have no idea if anyone is going to be doing heavy reviewing of this pay-per-view. I know just Alex said he might. I know JD may. No, I think it was JD that said he might actually review it. And just Alex might actually review it. Maybe. Because of Jeff Jarrett being in this video, we may even get the Sleg Daddy doing a review of it because you know how he hates that Memphis piece of crap, Jeff Jarrett, and his horse-faced bitch of a wife. I'm just telling you what he says. I'm not saying I agree with him. That is the line he's been saying for years, and I'm sticking with it. But I don't know how many people are going to review this. I got to say this. You see the title. No more to give, and that's okay. I'm going to tell you how the entire show was, and then I'm going to do the final match, and then my thoughts. I'm going to leave it at that. Opening the pre-show. We had a New Japan Pro Wrestling match that there were two guys who originally was working New Japan Pro Wrestling, but now, well, they usually would be in the main dojo, but now they've gone to the LA dojo in the United States for New Japan Pro Strong. And that's Yumada and Narita. I believe that's I'm pronouncing the names correctly. Yumada and Narita. Could be wrong about the names, they're not very good. It wasn't a very long match. But I do see what people are saying about these two guys. Yurita, he was smaller than him, of course. But I had this feeling that he's a much more better wrestler. He also had a little bit more better character than the other. Because as you know, you don't just do the match. You have to show your personality in the match. And that's what a lot of current wrestlers who do a lot of spots have a tendency to forget. You must show personality when you do your wrestling, like an Orange Cassidy, like a Sammy Guevara. People like that, they show a certain amount of character when they do their incredible moves. Look at Pac. Pac he's basically a bastard. He lets you know he don't give a fuck. Things like that is lost in the business at this point, and some people are trying to bring it back. Well, Okada felt like he had a little bit of it. But it is only the first time I've ever seen him, so that might just be all he ever shows, or that's just a small part of what he can truly show. He did win the match, which was fine. Now, we had the, what was it called? Brookhouse, or Buckhouse Battle Royal. Now, it's supposed to be an offshoot of Buckhouse Stampede match that they used to do back in Crockett Promotions. And I will talk about the promotion bit and the audio and everything in a moment, but the Buckhouse Battle Royal had how many people in it that I did recognize? There was Crimson in it, which wasn't too surprising for NWA. We had James Storm from Impact Wrestling. We actually had Bully Ray show up. I was actually surprised to see Bully Ray. We also had, who else did we actually see there? There was a few other people I did recognize, but I can't remember offhand. But then we got a large chunk of guys from GCW. Game Changer Wrestling. And the majority of that was Game Changer Wrestling basically trying to dominate. Now, here's the amount of promotions that was included in this Buckhouse Battle Royal. And understand, if you want it, you get a brown, how can I explain it? I may have the image, I think I do. It is a bronze cowboy boot. And you get a bronze buckle. That was the champion, that's like their title for that. Or their cup. That's what you got. Now, this is the amount of promotions that was involved in that Battle Royal alone. GCW, OVW, Impact Wrestling, NWA, Progress Wrestling. No, was it Progress or Progress? I think Progress Wrestling. Then we also had Wrestling Revolve. We had AAA, USWA. I thought they went out of business, USWA. They were still there. So we got a lot of promotions here. In the end, the two people that was left was Bully Ray and what was the guy name? What is his name? Ward. I can't remember his name. Matthew Ward or Martin Ward. He's the one who won it. And Bully Ray gave him some respect at the end of it when he went and got some liquor inside that boot and drank it, because there was a cup built into the boot. Yeah, he didn't just drink out of a bronze boot. There was an actual cup inside of it. So he drank it. He was happy. And Bully Ray raised his hand and poured some liquor down his throat. That's okay. It's good to see that Bully Ray is willing to give back. Now, we did see Bully Ray at NWA, and now we see him here at the last match of Ric Flair. So maybe he's going to be doing more wrestling now. Maybe he's got that itch like, yeah, I haven't been doing wrestling for the last decade or so, but you know what? I kind of have that itch. Maybe I want to do something. Maybe I do want to go back in wrestling for a little while and maybe do a couple of promotions, a couple of storylines that I want. Maybe that might be it. Now, let's get into the promotion itself. Look, Jimmy Crockett Promotions is just Impact Wrestling. They made it clear in one part, I say about halfway through the show, that they are being hosted by Impact Wrestling. So the arena is probably being booked by Impact Wrestling, even though they got everything done. They swapped out the Impact Wrestling logo, the ring skirts, and everything, and it's only Impact Wrestling, which is fine. It's good to see that Impact was willing to say, you know what, Rick, you dedicated yourself to us when you were with us. This is our gift back to you. We'll host it. You can say it's Jim Crockett Promotions, like when they did the Commonwealth, when is it? I forgot the name. When they did the Throwback Thursdays, and they do the, I forgot the name of it. The Prominence, IW something. I'm forgetting right now what it is. You guys know what it is. Impact has done that before. So doing Crockett Promotions, Jimmy Crockett Promotions, not far from what they've done. It's actually good to see they did it. Now, audio was bad. They did have some problems with Fight Network where there was a lot of dropping of the stream on and off. But audio on their side was not good. There was a lot of hissing, a lot of reverberation. It looks like they were doing some clipping. It was not that good. But this was Impact Wrestling, which I've always said, they need to learn to fix their damn production. WWE Light, anybody? I'm sorry, I'm saying it right now. It was WWE Light, like they've always been. They need to stop doing that. But overall, the camera work was okay. Wasn't perfect, but it was okay. You could watch what's going on. The lighting was fine. Camera work, when it came to zooming in and out, was minimal. They did a lot of switching, which was okay. And I was fine with that. The crowd there was mostly enthusiastic until the last match. Well, they were sporadic. The beginning of the show was okay, but with the kickoff, so you'll be fine with it. The main card, the first match, the American Wolves versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, this was kind of weird to see that Davey Richards was working with Eddie Edwards when they're still enemies. And I thought Davey Richards was done with Impact Wrestling. I thought he was still MLW. So maybe he came back for this to work with... It just felt weird. I'm sorry. The kicker of this is that if you're going by storyline, which there is none, Davey is not part of Impact. Eddie is part of Impact. They don't like one another. And if they had done what I suggested and set up Davey to go up against Eddie in a match, that would have done a full circle for Davey and Eddie because of what happened when Eddie got betrayed by Davey back around 2017 or 18. That would have helped that match. They had an automatic story built in, but it wasn't there. So we get this. And since they haven't tagged in so long, they seem to be very off. It wasn't a bad match. In the end, I'm not surprised the Motor City Machine Guns won. I wasn't. What were they going to do? They're going to have the American Wolves win when you know that there's a good chance that Eddie Edwards is not going to team up with Davey Richards because he's still part of the the Honor No More. And it's not going to happen. So it had to happen like that. Now, MLW. We had Davey Boy Smith Jr. or Harry Smith go up against Killer Kross. Yes, the MLW match of Killer Kross and Harry Smith actually happened, and there was some Scarlett Bordeaux. Damn, I didn't catch another. I don't think I got a picture of that incredible cleavage of If I have any images of Scarlett's boobs, I'll show it. because those boobs were deliciously beautiful. I mean, let's be honest. Scarlett Bordeaux is a gorgeous woman. She is not just a heater, she's a super heater. She'll make you melt. So it's what I liked. Now, was it a good match? No. Not great. No, not spectacular. Did it do what it needed to do to let Killer Kross have a match where he got over? Yeah. But to be honest, their chemistry wasn't that good. For me personally, anybody else would say that was a great match. For me, no. It didn't feel like it was. It didn't feel cohesive. It didn't feel like these two really had good chemistry. Now, it wasn't terrible, but it just didn't feel like it flowed very well. In the end, Killer Kross won, but still, I gotta say that it just didn't feel correct for me. Now, the Progressive, this is where it gets interesting. The Progressive Wrestling #1 Contenders match. Now, this was a sort of a tag in, it wasn't a tornado tag. It was a tag team where one guy's got a tag in and out. It's like if you were doing a tornado. How can I explain this type of tag team if you don't know? Instead of having 4 teams, it's just 4 guys. Instead of doing a fatal 4-way, you have to tag someone in to be able to win the match. There are no tag teams in this. Whoever won would get the #1 contender shot at the Progressive Heavyweight title. So it was Gresham, it was Nick Wayne, it was what is it? What's the guy's name? Kateska. He's from AEW. I keep forgetting his name because I don't see him often. And Jonathan Gresham. Now, when I saw Jonathan Gresham, I'm going, I didn't know he was working for Progressive right now. And I guess they really liked him a lot because even though the match was not bad, I liked it. It was a good match. But it felt very off because they had to tag in and out. Whoever was in the ring had to be tagged by someone outside the ring, and they had to be close enough to be tagged. And it felt like it should have been a fatal 4-way. It just didn't feel right. Now, for me personally, that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just I'm not used to something like that, and it felt a little clunky. In the end, Jonathan Gresham won. When I think maybe Alan Angel should have won. I really feel Alan Angel should have been the one to win it because I actually, when the commercials were coming up and they were doing the dedication to Ric Flair, where I think Impact dropped the ball because they only got 1 recording from each person. I'll explain that in a moment. But it felt like while I was seeing, well, I'm kind of rushing. I did check while these recordings of praising Ric Flair was happening. I tried to see if there was anything on YouTube for Progressive Wrestling. There is, but there's no, you can't watch it. I tried to see if I can find a place you can watch it. Now, I did check out Fight Network, but it didn't really show anything from Progressive. Now, it could be due to the fact they're not on Fight, and they don't have any shows on YouTube. So, I just felt like Angel should have won. That's just me. And let's get to this part. The dedication to Ric Flair. We had Jim Ross. We had the Cody Rhodes. We had the Dolph Ziggler. We had the, who else showed up? There was, I think Kurt Angle showed himself on, recorded. But here's the problem for me personally. It was only 1 recording, 1 of each of them. And the kicker was they decided to let it run in its entirety the first time, and then they cut it in certain parts to make it feel like it was a second recording when they should never did that. That was stupid. If that was Impact's doing, that was so dumb. I'm telling you, it was dumb on their part. Everybody just made 1 recording. There was more than a few people that did make recordings, but instead of just doing a few of them, like 1 or 2 in the very beginning, 1 and 2 in the middle, and maybe 1 and 2 at the end. I think there were like 6 or 7 people that did speak. They ran them all at once in the beginning, near the middle, and then they cut them in half and then ran the halves again. Sting was the one who also spoke. And that was dumb. Why didn't they just break it up into 2, 2, 2, 2? And then there would have been all you needed. 1 person, or 2 people. It didn't make a difference. You should have spread it out throughout the entire show, and they just shot them all. It was sloppy. Sloppy production. And if it came from Impact, that's if. From what they said, that Impact hosted this. I don't know if it was the production of Impact that did this, or was it someone from Crockett's Past who also edited it, but Impact was just hosting it. It was freaking sloppy. I'm just saying. It pissed me off. Now, here was an NWA AEW match. We had the Mortons of Ricky and Kelly versus, and here's interesting, Brian Pillman Jr.'s son and Brock Anderson, which was Art Anderson's son. It was an interesting match. I kind of wish they did not have Ricky in there. I wish there was someone else they could have used other than Ricky. And they just sponsored him. But the thing is that they weren't going to use Scion. Scion's right now, and that's who the person they should have used from NWA. Scion is supposed to be Austin Knight or something. That's if he is. They could have used somebody who is a second generation other than him. They could have called someone else. There are other second generation wrestlers. David Hart Smith would have been a perfect person to use in this situation instead of him using it with Killer Kross. But if he's working MLW now, there's nothing they could do about that. So I truly felt that Ricky being there, even though he did well, he was well able to keep up with them to a certain extent. I felt like they needed this to be all second generation wrestlers. I'm just saying. It felt like it should have been a second generation wrestler that was in the place of Ricky Morton. And in the end, it was the guys who were from AEW. You actually thought NWA was going to win that match? Come on. Come on. There was no way that NWA was going to win a match over AEW. No matter how unfair it is what it is. Now, Nick Aldis was there as a representative of NWA as a commentator. And that was cool. I was all right with that. Just like it was Tony Schiavone. Now, Tony has had years with the Crockett promotion. So him being there made sense. And I want to say this very clearly. That I really, really, really wish that he worked in Impact Wrestling. Because I like Tony Schiavone's voice. If he worked with Tom and Tony, I feel like they would make a great team. But that's just me. You guys tell me below. Now, AAA Fatal 4-Way. We had Black Taurus from Impact. Dorado Kid from Impact. We had Ray Phoenix from AEW. And we had Bandito from AAA formerly / ROH. This I did enjoy quite a lot. I enjoyed this match more than any of the other matches. And I'm not a big Lucha Libre like Mark. I'm not saying I really like Lucha Libre. I'm trying not to sound like I'm a hypocrite. I really did like this match. It was fun. I'm not always into high-flying wrestling or Lucha Libre wrestling. I'm not. But I gotta say, just for this particular match, I did really enjoy it. In the end, Ray Phoenix won, which I wasn't surprised. We're talking about one guy from AAA and 2 guys from Impact Wrestling. And now, an AEW guy, you actually think they're going to do that? I'm sure they sponsored most of what was going on, even though Impact did host the show. I'm just saying. Now, the match that was a surprise. Impact I wish they did have a TV title again, but Impact World title of Josh Alexander, with Jacob Fatu from MLW. He was going after the title. This is where I feel so angry at myself because I've been so busy doing these videos and not being myself. I was supposed to watch now 4 episodes of MLW and I have not had a chance. I managed to do a triple threat with NWA a couple of times. Now I can't do it now because of course I'm doing this. But I have not been able to look at MLW, even though I've been considering looking at it again. I've had no time. I've had literally no time. I had stuff to do. So it kind of pisses me off. And then my own frustrations made on top of that. You see, taking away my own feelings. I talk too damn much. Taking away from not seeing MLW for the last 4 shows. When you look at Jacob Fatu, he is damn good for his size. He made Josh Alexander work for that championship. He did. And here's the thing where it gets interesting. There was no champion, no change. It stayed the same because it was the DQ due to the fact that Matt Cardona is back and Brian Myers. They run into the ring. They beat the crap out of them both. Takes off his brace. Now, I'm not saying he's fully healed. He just did that probably as a stunt. But we did see that Diamond Dallas Page did believe, and this is where I lost the stream a little bit. It started getting staticky, so I didn't see what was going on. But my guess is that Matt Cardona was healthy enough to take a cutter. I'm actually angry because I did not get a chance to see Diamond Dallas Page's cutter. I missed it because I couldn't see it. That pissed me off. The majority of the stream was fine. But there it just went zzz, and I lost it. I lost it. So I didn't see the damn cutter. If that was him getting it, unless it was Brian Myers and he couldn't do it. I'm just saying, I really do kind of wish Jacob Fatu was in Impact Wrestling at this point. I would like to see him work there, but he is an MLW guy. I don't think he's ever going to leave it. That's just me, guys, from below. Now, here's another match. That was MLW and ROH/AEW. And that is the Von Erichs versus them boys in the Briscoes. This is where you can see I'm not going to tell you the match was bad. It was okay. But they were not familiar with each other. You could tell how that match went. Their familiarity was not there. That might have been one of the first times these two have ever faced one of these two teams. Because you can see that some of that match was very botchy, very sloppy, and it felt like they really didn't have an idea of how each one wanted to work with the other. Now, it doesn't mean the match was 100% trash. You could tell they're both good teams. They are both good teams. But it was like, instead of them being like this, they were like this a little bit. They were slightly off. And because they were slightly off, all their moves seemed slightly off. And that's just me. You guys probably say they did everything fine. But I could see that they were either a step too slow or a step too fast. And it was like their timings were just not there. They were trying to be like this, and they were like this, just slightly off. They were just off. Doesn't mean it was a bad match. It just feels like if they had been working together for a while, they were used to each other, and it would have been much better. The Briscoes won. I'm not surprised. We're still talking about AEW. When did you see an AEW match here where they basically let an AEW star or wrestler, not star, wrestler, lose? I'm just saying. Now, the Knockouts triple threat of, and this is where it gets messy there, of Jordynne Grace, of Deonna Purrazzo, and of Rachel Ellering, where we haven't seen her in quite a while. I don't know where she's been working. But this is where it gets messy. Within the first 2 minutes, well, within the first minute, Rachel gets hurt. I don't know if I got the shot. I don't think I did. Rachel was trying to pin Deonna. And it was pretty much Jordynne Grace who grabbed her and tried to swing her around to get her into a pinning predicament. But she went and twisted her ankle. Literally, she laid right on top of her and twisted her ankle like this. Her ankle just twisted this way. And you heard her scream in agony. Once she got out of the pinning predicament, she had to go over to the trainer because she was in pain. And they caught it on screen that once Jordynne tried to grab her and turn her, Jordynne leaned back on her leg, not on purpose, but accidentally, twisting that ankle bad. She still did finish the match. To her credit, and I never said Rachel was 100% trash. I have said she was off a couple of times, or she just doesn't seem like to be herself. But she, for her credit, finished that damn match. She was not happy when the match was over when Jordynne won it. Because even when Jordynne walked over to her after she showed her title, she tried to say, hey, you all right? She said, don't touch me. I think she might either, she's still going with story, or because she rolled onto her ankle so hard and was, and probably in her eyes, you sloppy bitch, may have pissed her off. And you can see Jordan look at her like, really? You're going to be like that? Okay. And holds up a title. That was just me how I perceived it. You guys will have to see it for yourself. But that's just my perception. This match, I'm going to say this. I really did like the match, even though Rachel did get hurt in it. Legitimately hurt. It was, well, the Fatal 4-Way for the Progressive was not bad. I liked it. For the number one contendership was something I really liked. The best match for me was a AAA Fatal 4-Way. I did like that a lot. So that's number one. This one, this number two. I can say that this match for the women, for the Impact title, was the second best match. And then the Progressive number one contendership is number three. Now, everything else was not bad coming up to the final match. And this is where it gets really... Guys, if you guys get to see this final match of Ric Flair with Andrade and... Give me a minute. This is hard for me. Because I want to give an honest perception of what I saw. I don't know about anybody else. I have no clue what anybody else is going to fucking say. I don't. For me personally, I'm seeing it partially through rose-colored glasses and just as a straight-ass reviewer who's trying to be as honest as he can to tell you what you're going to see if you watch this, if you hadn't already seen it. So for me, I mean, I was never a huge Ric Flair fan, but I love Ric Flair. I do. He had his moments. And when you see this match, it's a hard one to really gauge, not to let your emotions get a part of it. It's very hard, particularly when you see how it ended and in the middle. But let me go through the match. Jay Lethal comes out first, and he is, well, let me crank back further than that. Did the vid pack look good? Yes. This helped the match immensely for me personally, because since I didn't see how things were going to be built up into it, they actually showed how Rick wanted to start this situation, who he went to, who he was working with. When he spoke to Jay Lethal, when Jay Lethal said, I want to be a part of this, and he told Jay on camera that you're not a main event player, and that pissed off the Jay Lethal to the point where, of course, this story, that he gets so angry. And then Jeff sees this and said, this is exactly how Ric Flair will always act. This guy worshipped him, and he told him that shit? Fuck that. I'm going to be in Jay's corner. And that's how you see what happened in the parking lot and why Rick got his ass whooped and bled, which he did bleed, guys. Ric Flair was willing to go that far to make this look good and allow himself to be cut and bleed at 73 years old. He's 4 years or 5 years younger than Vincent Kenny McMahon. And he was willing to bleed. Now, the build-up for this was good. Jay Lethal came out fine. He was fine. And the commentator team was good. The commentator team was fine. I was fine with the commentator team. Once you see Jeff Jarrett came out, and he took his time, and he healed that shit up to the point where he was trying to piss everything off. Well, piss everyone and everything off. He's trying to piss off the camera. He's trying to piss off the fans. And then you see Karen Jarrett by his side. I don't know how old Karen is. She's in her 40s right now. But those boobs are like, I don't know. Karen's a good looking woman. I think she's had at least 4 or 5 kids. And she's still, damn, she's still built well. But I saw her at one point flip some guy's hat off as he's googling eyes at her, and she's going, get the fuck away from me, motherfucker. Get away. And that's what we got for at least a good 3 to 4 minutes. They milked that shit as much as they could before they actually got into the match. Then Andrade El Idolo came out, which was fine. He's just there to help Rick look good. And then, and I believe I got a shot of him. He's in my face. Ric Flair. And this is a shot I believe I have of him with the original World Heavyweight title that was used in the Crockett Promotions. That's what they said. So that is the original title, which is fine. I'm fine with that. It was okay. So when we got into the ring, and this is where it gets hard to be nostalgic or be emotional, or in this case, as a reviewer, I have to be straight. This is where you see how the match was booked. Rick was allowed to take as much time as he wanted inside the ring, and they did a lot of antics, a lot of pageantry, a lot of joking around or attitude, trying to drag it out as much as they could for Rick, so Rick wouldn't look too bad as he was going in the ring. Even though we saw Rick do a lot of video, I don't know what it was. Something was off with Rick. Because when you saw the training regimen that Rick did when he was with Jay Lethal, that's not the Ric Flair we saw in the damn ring. Rick did not look like Rick. Now, either he was drunk or we didn't see the full scope of how he got when he got tanked. Because Rick didn't look like Rick. Rick looked like a 73-year-old frail man. It did not look right. Now, of course, you had Jay Lethal trying to compensate for that with as much joking around as possible, getting smacked in the chest or getting smacked in the face by Rick. And even when he did his punches, he tried to make them look as great as possible. Also, when it came to when you see Jeff Jarrett, he was really trying to sell as much of Rick's work as possible. You can say a lot about Jeff, but in this situation, he was trying very hard to make Rick look as best as they could. Most of the moves they did were very, very gentle, at least at first, until they had to do the bleeding. And when they threw Rick out of the ring, and then they used Karen to be able to take her shoe, like she did in the parking lot, and ram it into Rick's head, that is where the bleeding is supposed to start, when Rick was on the floor. Now, Megan, I believe that's his daughter, one of his oldest daughters, Rick's daughter, Megan attacked Karen. And Karen got pissed off because Megan was grabbing at her hair. I don't know if that was a work or a shoot. I think it was probably a work. And Karen was so mad. She's saying, you want to do this? Let's fucking go. Let's go. You can see those tits look good, even for her age. You just want to... I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be so nasty. I'm just trying to be honest. Karen Jarrett is a heater. Karen Jarrett is his manager whenever he needs her. So people are going to still see her as a very beautiful model. Tall, sexy, beautiful. So who is not, man or woman, is not going to think exactly as I do. Just like with a Scarlett Bordeaux. Karen Jarrett is an older version in the sense of Scarlett Bordeaux. Still super curvy, even after having kids. Still have good pair of boobs that don't look like they hang like hanging fruit. And that is what you see. It's what you get. So I gotta bring that up. Because that was pretty much seen. She was literally in a long dress. Well, almost dressed. She was with like a one piece. Her breasts were almost shown completely. She was wearing almost a thong type. Well, not a thong, but like a bathing suit with, what do you call it? A see-through skirt. And pretty much getting mad at Megan and jiggling her boobies all over the place, being so damn mad. You gotta say it. That's what I did. If you don't like it, kiss my ass. I'm sorry. Now, how did the match end? Well, they rolled a Ric Flair back in, who at that point, where it's been at least 20 minutes or more, where some of that match he did himself. I believe that he got stunned more than a few times when he took a body slam or backdrop. He got stunned because he wasn't moving that great in the very beginning of the match. He was moving extremely gingerly, like he was off already. It wasn't like he was even training or moving on the ropes very much. But by that time, he was so badly tanked, so exhausted, he could barely move. And he tried. You can't tell me that Rick didn't give everything. He had no more to give. At one point near the end of the match, when Andrade had to literally grab him and pull him out of the way, because at that point, being so angry that Rick had not been dead by their hand, you got Jeff Jarrett coming in with the guitar, because he did have one. and Andrade had to grab him and pull him really well so he wouldn't get nailed by the guitar, and pretty much Jay Lethal took the hit. He was stunned when he had to fall straight down on the mat. He was already exhausted, so when he hit the ground, hit the apron, almost near the apron, basically the mat, he couldn't barely move. Someone threw brass knucks to Andrade, and Andrade tried to give it to Rick, and his left hand, he tried to put it in his left hand, but at that point, if you could see what I saw, I don't even know if I got a shot of it, I doubt, but if I did, I'll put it in my face, but Rick's hand, while he's trying to put it in, was slightly shaking. Either he was so exhausted he couldn't even control his body, or I don't know what. Rick just didn't have anything left. He had to barely stood up, put the damn brass knucks on, and lightly hit Jeff in the face, stunning him. And then his other son-in-law, who's also, I can't remember, Smith. I believe his name is Smith, as a ref. I've never seen him before. But he came out, and he did the 1, 2, 3, and that was it. The match was finished. Now, throughout that entire match, the crowds were cheering for Rick. They were cheering their asses off for Rick. They did not want Rick to stop. They believed in Rick. They wanted Rick to win. And from that is what he tried to do. When that match was all over, he had nothing left. When the confetti came down and Andrade got thrown a bottle of water, he was ready to give it to Rick to drink. And Rick, if you saw the look in his face, I don't know if I got a shot of it. If I do, I'll put it in my face. His mouth was wide open, beyond exhausted. He had nothing left. At one point, when Andrade leaned back, Rick collapsed into the mat of the ring. He was so tired. And Andrade had to help him up. He literally had to help him move all the way to the end of the ring skirt so he can get out of the ring. And he saw Bret Hart was there. Mick Foley was there. I didn't see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He wasn't there. It was Undertaker was there. Who else was there? Who else was over there that I saw? There was a few other people. I can't remember. But there was more than a few people there. Hell, Kid Rock came there. I saw Kid Rock. He didn't congratulate him. But he was there. So many people were there. The only person I didn't see was Ashley. That was Charlotte Flair. Now, I'm not saying that she wasn't there. He said his entire family was. But I didn't see her. Maybe due to the fact they didn't show the camera on her. And she asked, please don't film me because I don't want to be filmed. But if Charlotte was there, I just didn't see her. But he said, and he spoke, and I believe I got a shot of that in my face. I am so happy. You are the reason why people like me exist. I love what we do. This is my last. I love you. I'm so thankful that all the people I ever cared about, the people, my friends, my family, you guys, you gave me a second gift. Because it's only 2 times I've ever had the greatest moment of my life in wrestling. This is one of them. The other one is when I won the championship last time when I was here. That was my greatest match I've ever had. I thank you. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And he was just spent. He fist bumped all the other wrestlers because they came out to see him. And as he walked up, they tried to hand him the title. Like I said, that the original title from the Crockett promotion, he didn't take it at first. He was just spent. Not until he took it from someone when he was up the ramp that he held it up. And I believe I got that shot. I don't know if I do. This might be the only shots I'm doing. I may not even show any other shots, only of Rick. But the thing that gets me, that I think they made a big mistake, is when he was up the ramp and Jay Lethal came out after that. The moment that Rick turned and looked at Jay, he literally dropped that damn title and hugged the hell out of him. He just hugged him. And Andrade's going, hey, he had to go and try and grab for the titles after he hit the floor. Rick didn't care about that damn title. The title meant nothing to him until he saw Jay. He didn't care. All that matters was to hug him. But then they cut away instantly that they showed that. And they shouldn't have done that. They should have left it at least a few seconds while he hugged Jay Lethal. Yes, it is a story where Jay's the bad guy. But come on. They should have left it. It would have been alright. But let me give it to you like this. Ric Flair's last match. Did it have some good matches in it? Yes, it did. Some of it kind of looked sloppy due to the fact that people weren't totally familiar with each other or had done any wrestling with each other for quite a while. But it wasn't bad. Seeing that Rachel did get hurt by Jordynne Grace by accident and maybe got really pissed in real life at Jordynne for rolling over her ankle, that's not something you want to see. But let's put this in perspective. What did we get from Ric Flair? Do you believe this will be another match for him? Guys, I'm going to be honest to you here. If Rick was drunk going into the ring, that would make some sense. Because he didn't look right when he went in the ring. He could barely move. And when we saw, understand, the recordings they showed of him with Jay Lethal training, he was 10 times better there than he was here. He could barely walk. I don't know what the fuck it was. Either that he was exhausted, he was sick, or he was drunk. That was not the Ric Flair we saw in the recordings training with Jay Lethal. It was not. The person that I saw in that damn ring was not Ric Flair that trained months ago with Jay Lethal. That was a guy who was trying to wrestle when he could barely walk. He was hunched over like this. Now, mind you, Rick is 73. Of course, he's going to be hunched over. But you can't tell me that was not Rick. Whoever that was shouldn't have been in the ring. He could barely move. The slaps he gave were incredibly light. Now, doesn't mean he wasn't trying. Don't think I'm glazing over that he tried to make those slaps mean something. Like I said, Jay Lethal tried to sell it heavily. You can see Jeff Jarrett trying to sell it heavily. You can see Andrade was doing the majority of the heavy lifting of that match. But the person we saw in that ring was not Ric Flair. Even though that person, and he's in my face with The Undertaker, was talking exactly like he did back in 2009 with The Undertaker, the day after WrestleMania, when he was in front of The Undertaker was saying, hey, whatever he said, I love you probably, you are the man, you're the only one I see is the best beyond anyone. Maybe that's what he said again. And he said he loved him. For me, I do not want to see Ric Flair ever wrestle again. If he does wrestle again, they need to make sure they do not let him be active like he was here. This was bad. It was not Rick. Guys, he didn't try to be theatrical like Rick. And I'm not saying that he had to run the ropes like crazy. I expected him to run the ropes like Rick months ago. Not Rick 10 years ago. This is what I'm comparing it, guys. Understand. The Ric Flair I'm comparing is not a 10-year younger Rick, or a 20-year younger Rick, or even a 30-year younger Rick. I am comparing this Ric Flair, July 31st, 2022, to a Ric Flair that is what? June or March, or what? When did they start saying this? May or April or May of 2022. That is the person I'm comparing this to, because we saw Rick run the ropes and take bumps and was able to get up quickly. The quick that he was in that video that we saw with Jay Lethal. That is the person I'm comparing this to, and is not what I just saw. Whoever or whatever happened, I don't know. I don't know who was in that ring. Was that a drunk Ric Flair? Or was that a sick Ric Flair? I don't know which Ric Flair that was. I have no idea who that was. But that was not the Ric Flair I saw a couple of months ago that is set in this. Do I hate Rick for what he did? No. Do I think I commend him for trying so hard to want to go back in the ring? Yeah. But do I think he should have? Hell no, after what I just saw. No. If he goes back in the ring again, that is the most stupidest thing he could do. If he's going to act exactly as he did there. If he's like the one I saw months ago, where at least he could run the ropes decently, to okay. Like a Ricky Morton. Like a Sting, for that matter. That would be alright. Sting isn't great on the ropes anymore, neither is Ricky, but they can run the ropes. We're still talking about Rick, who months ago 3 or 4 months ago could run the ropes. He couldn't even run the damn ropes. He was like this. I don't know who was that. Unless he had a stroke and he shouldn't have been in the ring. I don't know who that was. But this is just me. And I know I took a long time with this video, but I had to say it. Have a good day. Have a good night. Peace.